حي على الفلاح.
They are weary or they're scared about people, and they're not weary and scared about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These individuals, or all of us individuals who went through that time of doing exams, whatever it may be, there's an element of fear, years of studying, years of focus, that what will my response be towards my parents, towards my peers, my friends, my siblings, my family members around me, or even the wider society. And that's why don't be surprised that some individuals have even, who didn't achieve what they were expected to achieve, what they wanted to achieve, have taken their lives. But the real fear should be that we should focus upon that, just like we focus upon what will our parents may say, what the society may say, we should focus upon what will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to us on that day. Meaning the affairs of the last day. Allah mentions, مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي سَقَرٍ. What made you end up going into Saqar? قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. Actions, once again, we never used to pray. وَلَمْ نَكُمْ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ. We never used to feed the poor. وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ. We used to waste and squander our time with those who are squandering their time. وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. And we used to reject the last day. How did we reject the last day? By not carrying out the actions which are going to be rewarded inside the last day by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if those ayat seem far away from us, or we don't have that relationship with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then at least, not to undermine any individual, at least 17 times a day, what do we read? Maliki Yawmiddin, Master or King of the Day of Judgment. Yawmiddin, a deen who is Yawmul Hisab, Yawmul Jaza, Day of Reward, Day of Recompense, Day of Reckoning. So what is our preparation for the last day? But unfortunately, many of our aspirations, what are our aspirations? Speak about bettering our society, bettering the Muslim Ummah. The Muslim Ummah won't be bettered just over one night. And it is this years of plotting and planning and decisive planning taking place to dismantle this Muslim Ummah. So it's not going to happen in one day. So the caliber of Muslims has to be raised, not just by Islamic concept. Even things of the world, we need to raise the bar amongst ourselves, raise our intellectual heights amongst ourselves and our spiritual practice. Allah doesn't change the condition of people until they don't change any of their own self. And we find that just like some people may have crammed in a few minutes of revision, they believe that, I've got the intellectual capability. Compare that to a person who's been studying all year. When they walk into the exam, they're definitely going to walk out with a better grade. Allah mentions, وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. Man will only have that which he strives for. Whether it be even things of the dunya. A person gets up early in the morning, goes out to follow their career, their work, or whatever they do, strives and struggles for that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant that for individuals. Those people who want to become politicians, leaders in society, gain something, want prestige, want honor, want dignity, want fame, want to be sports personalities, whatever they may be, they will train hard. They will work hard. Don't think that they're not going to work hard towards what they want to achieve inside their life. Even the Quran mentions that they suffer like you suffer. They all strive like you strive. What's the difference? The difference is that what you aspire for is different what their aspiration is. Your aspiration is al-akhirah. And likewise, you find when an individual is inside an examination hall, every single individual is on their own. Allah taziru waziratun wizra ukhra. No soul carries a burden or the sin of another individual. And this is core Islamic belief, because once again, people begin to deviate. People think that maybe someone else carries the burden of my sins. That's a Christian belief, that Jesus died for the sins of mankind. And don't be surprised, there's some Muslims who believe that the Prophet he died for the sins of mankind. As long as you just believe in the Prophet, you utter his name, you show a love, a reverence towards him, you're going to be forgiven. And that's a wrong creed to hold. Because even the prophets on the Day of Judgment are going to say, rescue us, rescue us. And even the Prophet is going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go down in the state of sajda and make supplications and call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then it will be said to him, Irfa' ra'sak, raise your head, ask, it will be given, intercede and intercession will be granted. So it's not just going to be an open intercession as some of us that we think that the Prophet is just going to come along and intercede for any individual. If we haven't tried to do something inside this dunya, there's going to be, the chance of intercession are going to be very, very minimal. And that's why the Prophet he always encouraged, even he said to his own family members, loved ones, ask whatever you want inside this dunya. He said to Fatima, his beloved daughter, radiyallahu ta'ala, ask me whatever you want inside this dunya. But inside al-akhirah, there's not much I can do for you. Every single individual will come on the Day of Judgment farda, on their own as a single entity. And we instill this inside our life, inside our mind as well, that I'm going to be just like on the examination hall or whatever you may be doing, I'm just sitting there all on my own. That I'm now responsible for my own actions, or whatever I put pen to paper, I'm here all on my own. Likewise inside al-akhirah, standing all on their own. People will be resurrected on the day of judgment in a state of a nudity, in a state of nakedness, barefooted, uncircumcised individuals. That's how people will be resurrected on the day of judgment. So our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked this question, won't people be looking at one another if they're in that state? And the Prophet he rebuked her, said the affair is going to be far more severe, that a person is going to be looking at the person next to him. What's their state? What state are they in? Are they dressed or undressed, or what's happened to them? Every single individual is going to be worried about their own self. Just as we mentioned, even the prophets are going to say that they sallim. Each prophet is going to go to one prophet, to another prophet, to another prophet, till eventually it comes to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So they're going to be worried on that day. Some people will sweat up to their ankles, up to their shanks, up to their knees, up to their waist, up to their collarbone. Some people will be drowning in their sweat. And then some ulama, they describe this as a hadith, because we live in a world of trying to understand things in a material concept that we find. If I see something, if I can understand something, then I believe in it. And this is what the Western world teaches, that when you physically perceive and understand something, then I can acknowledge it. So people ask this question, that how can water become stagnant? How can you be drowning in your sweat? Because water flows. But once again, these are affairs of the unseen. You don't use your aql, you don't use your rationale. It's a golden rule about Islam. Don't use your aql, your rationale, to perceive or to understand what happens inside al-akhirah. How the reward will be inside al-akhirah, in its size, in its magnitude, how the punishment will be, or when Allah describes certain things. وَقَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. We hear and we obey. That people always, they think they're intellectual questions, but they just try to raise doubt. And some of us, because we're weak inside our faith, then that doubt enters into our mind that, maybe, how can that happen inside the last day? How will that take place? Because that's what these people are good at. Creating shubuhat, creating doubts about the last day. Doubting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we find in the hadith, all these questions come. That who created Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is from shaitan. We don't keep on asking these excessive questioning, asking all the time, till eventually we come into a state of becoming hayran, in a state of doubt and questioning and asking, does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exist? Whereby the whole Quran is speaking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah mentions, were they created from nothing? Or were they created themselves? يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. Just like in the person examination, who doesn't want to know whether about their parents, about their brothers, their sisters. Same thing on the last day. Person will flee away from their mother, from their father, from their spouse, or sahibatihi wa bani, from their companion, their children. And every single individual have their own affair that they will be worried about. And that's why we find that people, even when they're doing exams, find sometimes people are in a disheveled state, in a bad state, but they don't care about how they look, what their presentation is, because they just focus on that one goal. Same concept Allah mentions. If you look at the beginning of Surah Al-Hajj, that we find, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّ زَلْزَلَةَ السَّاعَةِ شَيْءٌ عَظِيمٌ كَأَنَّ الْخِطَابِ لِجَمِيعِ النَّاسِ. That is speaking to every single individual, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim, whatever they may be, whatever background they may be, the whole of mankind. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ, fear your Lord, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and fear that day, whereby you find it's going to be inna zalzalat as-sa'ati shay'un azim. The shaking of the hour is going to be something so sublime, so great. It's going to be on that day, whereby you find that a mother who is breastfeeding a child will drop her child, and a pregnant woman will drop her load. You're going to find people in a state of drunkenness, helter-skelter, just running around. Just like you find that people inside the exam maybe just running around just to get to the exam, just to get their results, whatever it may be, or get to whatever it may be. Same thing. Allah is describing that the last day will be like this. People will be just running around. You'd think that people in a state of drunkenness, they've lost their mind. They're not drunk. They haven't lost their mind. But it's the adhab, the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so severe, it's going to derail them. People are going to be like moths scattering around, going towards the light, bouncing off the light, running in different directions. Person will try to say, where can I flee? Where can I run? There's nowhere to run. The only place to run is to flee to Allah. That's why even in calamities, obstacles, hardships, difficulties, a sign of belief is that a person flees to Allah. That's a good sign. And even a calamity, ulama say that if a calamity brings you close to Allah, it's no longer calamity. is actually a ni'mah. It's the Western world that creates environment about always despairing, always complaining. And we find that when the exam paper is there and the information is given to us, many of us, we knew what our grades were. We didn't need to open the envelope. We knew what the F and unclassified, whatever it was going to be, before we even opened the paper. That what you've presented inside this world, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. Whoever's scale is heavy, that person will be rejoicing. Those are going to be the successful individuals. On that day before that, Allah mentioned that everybody's going to come with their record tied to their neck. And then we said to the individual, اقرأ كتابك. Read your own record. Read it yourself. Suffice it does that you yourself stand as a testimony about what you've done upon in this earth. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ يَسِيرًا وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَى أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. Whoever's been given their record in the right hand, once again, same concept as dunya. But people who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or tried to make the effort, it's not just the most information that you wrote on the exam paper, it's the correct information. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned also about the opposite individual, أَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. The person whose scale is light, then that person's literally means the mother. Because your mother is your point of return that you return back to. You go back and you complain that maybe the examiner didn't mark your paper properly. It's unfair, whatever it may be. But here for Ummu Hawiyah, his mother will be the bottomless pit. Hawiyah is another name of Jahannam that we find inside the Quran. A bottomless pit that has no ending. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا وَيَصْلَى سَعِيرًا. Persons will be given their record from behind their back. The results are given to them, no respect to them. The person فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا will begin to make continuous blame upon their own self. The person will say, woe upon me. What's happened to me? I took such and such individual as my friend, intimate friend, a close friend. A man is upon the way of life of his friends. That every single one of you see who your friends are. If your friends are not worried about the education, worried about putting that effort in, then if you're following that same path or you're with these individuals, then you're going to derail yourself. And you're going to say, regarding even this dunya and inside the akhirah, woe upon me, I took such and such individual as a friend. He took me away from guidance when I was upon guidance, took me away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also we find that when we're doing our exams, maybe we may think, the examiner may overlook something and not see it. But on that day, there's no missing anything on that day. Or anything will be overlooked. Unless for that person, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings that person close and says to that person, you've done such and such, and the person acknowledges it. Allah says, I covered it up inside this dunya, I'm going to cover it up inside al-akhirah as well. But other than that, for the things that we do, it's all been documented. Person was saying that they woe to this book, this record. Not a small thing or great thing, except for it's all been written down. Everything is written down about every single one of us. So this record that we find that we think something could be missing, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the angels won't kiraman katibin يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. These noble scribes, they know what you are doing. They are writing down. They are there with us. They see us. There's some narrations that mention that when we do a bad deed, they turn away from us. They find it repulsive. And my personal advice has always been to young individuals, whatever sins you do inside your life, keep it personal. Don't ever become an individual who spreads sins to another individual. The exams that we do inside this dunya, we don't even know what the questions are. And look at the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us what the questions are and told us the answers. 3 basic questions. Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? All of us, we know our Lord is who? Allah. Ma Dinuk? What is your religion? What's your way of life? We all know our way of life is al-Islam. And who is this Prophet I was sent to you? None other than the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. 3 simple questions. Questions are given and answers are given. So why will so many people fail? How is it plausible? How will people fail answering these questions? If we all know what the questions are and we can't answer them, how is that going to happen? And some of us are going to say, Rabbi Irji'un. There's no resits. So if you flunked maybe an exam now, you can come back and resit that exam or try it again this year or next year. But in the akhirah, there's no resitting. As a side point, we read from Surah Az-Zumar, the groups, the people who are coming in troops, in groups, those people who are going to be the people of Jahannam. What's the punishment going to be given to these individuals? And those are the people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how they're going to be driven in troops, in groups, and be brought to the gates of paradise. That people of Jahannam just going to be flung into Jahannam. There's no talking on the discussion with these individuals. You do not speak to these individuals, these wretched individuals who've derailed away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for the people of paradise, so this istiqbaliyah, this greeting is given, that before the prize is given to you, before your certificate, your graduation, there's a presentation, there's a mentioning of your name, your success, your subjects, what you've done inside this life, which gives the person that happiness. So we need to give ourselves the glad tidings about al-akhirah, that the person who strives and struggles inside for the akhirah, there's going to be immense reward given to those individuals. Or you believe fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and let every soul see what it has prepared for tomorrow. Don't become like those individuals who forgot Allah, so Allah made them forget their own self. And that's a sign that the more that you become derailed away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you're drifting away. And the more that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pulling you back, bringing you back to the masjid, bringing you back to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, count that as a blessing that Allah is giving us. And Allah gives all of us an opportunity. Every single Muslim, even non-Muslim, gives us opportunities to show his signs to come back to him. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all tawfiq and success, and all of our young brothers or old brothers who carried out the exams and the efforts that they put in, or whatever grade that you got. Just be content and be happy with yourself, and take that as a stepping stone to better yourself, as we mentioned, to better ourselves inside al-akhirah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the success, and grant us, put these words in a mizan of hasanat. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.